I would like to thank Dr. Vishali and Dr. Chintan for calling me over for this webinar. I would be sharing very interesting case with you all. She is a 19-year-old Indian female who came with the chief complaint of marked diminution of vision in both her eyes for past 1 day. Patient gave history of some blackouts which were 10 days back and 2 to 3 episodes were there, and now patient presented with sudden pain test marked decrease for the past 1 day. There was some vague history of fever and headache with joint pains, which was 1 month back, and she took self medication for that and it got relieved. On examination, she was healthy female. Her temperatures were high, so she was febrile when she walked in, and pallor was present. Otherwise, she was looking normal. The visual acuity was hand motions close to face right eye and counting fingers half meter in the left eye. She had relative afferent pupillary defect in the right eye. Slit lamp biomicroscopy showed cellular reaction in both her eyes. Otherwise, external ocular movements were full and conjunctiva and cornea were normal. Posterior segment examination showed disc edema and dilated tortuous veins was seen and hemorrhages in all 4 quadrants. There was boggy retinal swelling and it was retinal pallor which was there. So if I see the montage of fundus montage, it is clearly showing some soft exudates, dilated tortuous veins, arteries are attenuated, and hemorrhages are in all 4 quadrants. However, the area of cilioretinal artery is spared. The picture in the left eye was something similar, but it was limited to the superior part of retina. You can make out very clearly the edema in the superior part, and the inferior part is normal kind of retina, which we can see. Plus, she has perivenular sheathing, which is present, which is seen in the periphery, and hemorrhages are restricted to the upper quadrant, upper half of the fundus. OCT is showing macular edema with serous retinal submacular detachment. Fluorescein angiography showed that there was perfusion of the cilioretinal artery area, and rest of the fundus there was gross ischemia. In fact, the dye arrest was 1.5 disc diameter from the disc. It was hardly any perfusion. Similar were the pictures in the right eye. However, it was limited to the superior part of the retina, and the inferior part of the fundus looked normal. So summarizing, we have 19-year-old female who's coming with a history of pain that's decrease in vision following fever and myalgia. Her fundoscopy is revealing right eye edematous pale retina with cherry red spot and dilated tortuous veins, perivenous sheathing, and hemorrhages in all 4 quadrants. FFA is supporting the diagnosis of ischemia, and left eye is having similar picture, but the things are limited to the superior half of retina. Our provisional diagnosis was combined central retinal vessel occlusion, central retinal vein occlusion, as well as central retinal artery occlusion. However, in the left eye, it was hemispheric combined retinal vessel occlusion. So this was a very unusual case, bilateral loss of vision. We thought of the differential diagnosis. There are few case reports of combined retinal occlusion. We limited our diagnosis to something like she was having inflammatory reaction in combined occlusion. So our possible diagnosis, there were systemic lupus erythematosus, it could be Behçet, syphilis, cat scratch disease. Combined retinal vessel occlusion has been reported in all these diseases with inflammation. However, we could not rule out the other causes: infective endocarditis, leukemia, lymphoma, hyperhomocystinemia, septic cavernous sinus thrombosis, or posterior scleritis. So whenever we see bilaterality about bilateral vein occlusion, we think of diagnosis which is beyond our diabetes and hyperlipidemia. Once we had this provisional diagnosis, we came to again general physical examination. We examined the patient again. Patient had some skin lesions. They were discoid plaques with central depigmentation and adherent scales and surrounding hyperpigmentation. If you see here very carefully, this was present on the nose, on the malar eminences, and this was sparing the nasolabial furrow, which is very classic for discoid lupus erythematosus. Patient also showed photosensitivity of these rashes once the patient was exposed to sunlight. This is the flaring up of these rashes on exposure to sunlight. There were other skin lesions also, which was suggestive of vasculitic lesions. They were on palms, soles, and tongue of the patient. Systemic investigations were done. It showed patient was anemic, hemoglobin was 8.5, ESR was raised. C-reactive proteins were highly raised. Anti-neutrophil antibody was positive, which clinched the diagnosis. Complement was again decreased. However, notably, anti-phospholipid antibodies in this patient were normal. We were expecting them to be high. Skin biopsy was also done to confirm the diagnosis, and direct immunofluorescence showed immunoglobulin G2 linear positivity at dermoepithelial junction. This was again corroborative with the findings of systemic lupus erythematosus. However, MR angiography of the brain did not reveal anything. Normally, it is seen that 70% of the cases of retinopathy with SLE have CNS involvement. However, this was inconclusive. SLE manifestations in our patients was fever with myalgia and weight loss. Cutaneous manifestations were there. Hematological manifestations were there. And retinal vaso-occlusive disease was there, which is very rare, which is only in 5% of the cases of SLE. The patient fitted into the diagnostic criteria for SLE. According to new criteria, we give score to each of the findings, and our score was more than 10, which confirms the diagnosis of SLE. Emergency treatment was given before all these investigations. Once it was CRAO and CRVO, we definitely gave treatment for CRAO. Paracentesis was done for the patient. However, there was no improvement. These patients are known to have poor prognosis. Patient was started on topical antibiotic and steroids in view of the inflammatory reaction. And in consultation with the internist, the patient was started with oral steroids, systemic immunosuppression, and antiplatelet drugs. In view of the inflammation in this patient, it was the flaring up of SLE which led to this vessel occlusion. Patient was kept on very, very close follow-up. At the earliest diagnosis of neovascularization of the disc, the patient was taken up for aggressive PRP. It has been seen that 54% of the cases where PRP is done have a better prognosis in occlusive SLE retinopathy. And this is 1.5 month follow-up. This is showing resolving intraretinal hemorrhages with cord-like vessels, cord fibrotic vessels, which are present all over the fundus and in the superior half in the left eye. We also gave anti-VEGF because it has been seen that in SLE, anti-VEGF works well. So at 1.5 month follow-up, there's resolution of macular edema and the vision goes to 660 in the right eye and 612 in the left eye. So the take-home message in this unusual case was that once you see a bilateral retinal vessel occlusion, or you see a combined retinal vessel occlusion, our antennas goes up and we go ahead with thorough systemic evaluation of the patient clinically as well as systemic investigations need to be done. And this case highlights that rare occurrence of bilateral combined retinal vessel occlusion as a presenting feature of SLE. This case was diagnosed as SLE from ophthalmology. She was not a diagnosed case of SLE. Thank you.